four of the biggest names in tennis go head-to-head as NBC Sports presents the 1996 Nike Cup, a tennis event to benefit the Tim and Tom Gullickson Foundation. And what a gathering of tennis talent it is, as John McEnroe brings this famous foursome out. 22 Grand Slam singles titles among them. And Pete Sampras, the current #1, but all of these players have felt what it's like to be the #1 player in the world. And happy holidays, everybody. Dan Hicks along with Bud Collins. We'll be going over the rules of this unique brand of tennis in just a moment. But first of all, the reason why these four players are here, Bud Collins, to benefit the Tim and Tom Gullickson Foundation, a foundation which is very near and dear to the heart of Pete Sampras.
Particularly to Silky Sampras, that great player, because Tim Gullickson coached him through 6 of his 8 major championships, and it was a terrible loss for Pete when Tim died last May of a brain tumor. And that's what the foundation is all about, helping those families and sufferers of brain tumors. But to put together 4 athletes like this, 4 professionals, and we hear about professional athletes' greed, you'd have to put up $2 million in prize money for one session like this. Well, they are doing it, Dan, for 0.
Pete Sampras probably the strong favorite here, but maybe the guy that needs the most help is 37-year-old John McEnroe, and they've given it to him, a break in the rules for John.
Sort of a geezer thing, what we call the elderly strokesman entitlement. He gets a 5-point spot, so he starts each one of his 3 matches 5-0 in the lead.
Well, we mentioned the rules, and John McEnroe and the rest of the players did have a big part in creating them, and they are as follows, just some of them. Each match will consist of 2 10-minute halves. The scoring system is very similar to the one used in the game of ping pong, with each player getting 5 serves at a time. Another interesting rule, let serves are in play, but the most significant change is that there are no linesmen. Players make their own calls, and if they can't agree, the final decision is made by a special on-court arbitrator. And for more on that, we go courtside to Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Dan. Well, I have the ultimate judge, Mary Carrillo, folks, believe it or not, has the final word tonight. You a hanging judge?
I am a hanging judge. There's a new sheriff in town. It's about time.
Now, we talk about instant replay and all the other sports, but you truly can use instant replay with all these monitors.
That's going to be one of the fun parts of the Nike Cup. The guys didn't want lines people, but we have super slow-mo availability, and if they want to contest a call, you know, then we'll all get to have a look at it, and I get to say what I thought. It should be a lot of fun.
Now, of all people, I don't think John McEnroe had you in mind when he decided there wasn't going to be any lines people as the ultimate umpire. You two can't get along when he's not playing. How are you going to do when he is?
No, we get along pretty well when we work together these days. And I think John's playing some pretty good ball, and he's got great memories of playing in Madison Square Garden. I think he wants to show these people. The format's good for him because the matches will be pretty short. I think he wants to bring back a lot of great memories of playing and winning in the Garden. So hopefully it'll be about John's tennis, and we'll all have a great time.
A kinder, gentler woman in the umpire chair tonight. Back to you, Dan.
Okay, thank you, Jim. And the first of 6 matches in this round-robin format. It's André Agassi against John McEnroe. And, of course, Agassi will serve the first 5 points. And as we mentioned earlier, Buddy's already in the hole because McEnroe gets the 5-love lead.
Right, 0-5 as André tees it off. What you think, Dan?
Well, I'm going to go with Mac. He says it's just wide.
I think so.
You want to question that?
We're going to have a hassle on the first point. All right, down the line and clearly wide, even though André may not think so.
So McEnroe with the quick 6-love lead over Agassi.
The idea is to score points, as many as you can, in the time allotted.
McEnroe off to an impressive start.
Is this going to be a bagel? 7-0.
Well, McEnroe obviously the local favorite, living here in Manhattan and trying to feed off the hometown crowd here in the Garden.
A place he has played so well in the past. I knew André would score.
And, Bud, this is the same court that they used many, many years ago in the Masters tennis tournament played here at the Garden?
It's pretty old. There are more bubbles in it than the New Year's Eve champagne, but it could be as skittish as a grass court, and that could help McEnroe. Ooh! It's in play.
And 2 straight now by Agassi after a lengthy, impressive rally. McEnroe hanging in there. Well, André has not enjoyed one of his typical years, Bud. Really the lone highlight, the gold medal in Atlanta in the Olympics.
Against a very weak field. This has been a terrible year for Agassi. And he says he's not going to play again until February. Davis Cup for the United States against Brazil. A tough way to start out.
And a tough point there lost by Agassi. With a double fault gives Mac the 8-2 lead. And we'll continue with the action from the Garden, the Nike Cup, right after this. Meanwhile, inside the warmer confines of Madison Square Garden, John McEnroe has upped his lead over Agassi, now 18-12. So Bud, Mac has actually outscored Agassi 13-12 and more than holding his own.
It's really nice to see. I didn't think he'd play this well. He's played some events on the Jimmy Connors Senior Tour, but he hasn't really played big league tennis for about 4 years. We saw him at Wimbledon winning the men's doubles with Michael Stich in 1992. That was probably his last time that many people saw him on television as a player.
And this is, as you take a look at the coach of André Agassi, Brad Gilbert. Each player can choose whomever he'd like to serve as his coach on the sidelines, and John McEnroe has chosen 2 of his boys.
Kevin and Sean, the boy managers. André said, I can do that. I beat McEnroe in 1992 at Wimbledon with passing shots. That was John's last hurrah in singles. And André, so quick taking the ball on the rise. This is what he does best.
Get off. Get off.
But I think he's a little embarrassed.
Just long. Well, it's all for charity and all for fun, but when you get players of this caliber on the court, but they want to win.
Well, that's right. You've got about 13,000 people in the building. You're on national television. The pride factor is very strong.
Costly double fault there for McEnroe as Agassi continues to slice into the lead, now just trailing by 3 points.
Good jammer.
There they are. 10-year-old Kevin on the left, 9-year-old Sean on the right, the youngest coaching tandem in tennis history, Bud, the sons of John McEnroe.
Can't get much younger now. That should... I don't think anybody's noticed, Dan, but that is considered a double fault because John has exceeded his second serves. This would be his third. They're still playing. Nobody's noticed. But this should not be happening, and I wonder if Agassi will catch it.
Well, on they play. Again, each player only allotted 2 second serves per 5.
Is that his third second serve? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yes!
Oh, yeah, huh?
And now Agassi realizes it.
You doubled. You even doubled. You double faulted as well.
And now it's just utter chaos. McEnroe goes off. Gilbert wants a timeout. And Agassi trails by 3. As we continue our coverage, we'll hear from the Team McEnroe bench as they sort things out.
Should I come in on his backhand or his forehand? Who do you think he's hitting better?
Back at Madison Square Garden, André Agassi trailing John McEnroe, and Agassi's now with our Jim Gray.
don't want to lose to this guy, even though it's an exhibition. I mean, there's some seriousness here, isn't there?
You're very right about that. You're going to see me pick up the pace to his forehand here because he can't handle the pace of the forehand. He's going to start chipping it.
All right, good luck. Let's go back to Dan Hicks.
Okay, so while the 37-year-old McEnroe composes himself on the sidelines, a familiar face to the many years of your coverage of John, his father, John, in the stands.
Senior and his mother, Kay.
Last 5 points of the match, most likely.
So Mary Carrillo, looking at the clock, thinks that this is just about finished.
Tied at 20. McEnroe now with a fresh set of 5 serves.
It's a second ace.
Against one of the best returners in tennis, Agassi. Max still has a little heat on the ball.
21-20.
Well, he kicked it wide to the forehand, and that caught André. Wide and then into the ribs.
I think McEnroe's gaining a little bit of confidence here, point after point.
Well, he says, this is my building. You guys never did anything here. Sampras and Courier never played here. The Masters last year was 1989, and Agassi didn't do well when he did appear at the Garden.
Approaching the 1-minute mark. Was that in? Mac gives it a long stare and then a wry smile as he heads back.
I thought it was good, but it'll be second serve.
You didn't see that kind of expression from Mac very often when he played for real.
I don't recall it.
Makes it so fun to see him in this kind of format. Waning seconds of this match. McEnroe gaining some more momentum as you took a look at Agassi hitting his shoe, broke some strings on the racket.
It's almost like shooting yourself in the foot. Interesting thing is John is outplaying André from the baseline.
Crowd counting it down. And McEnroe wins the final point at the horn and wins the opening match 24-20 over Agassi. So, Bud, the 5-point lead that McEnroe had came in handy.
It did, and here it is, 23-20, and André is careless. He doesn't read the situation or the system. Instead of playing patiently, trying to win the point, so it's 23-21 when it ends, he does that.
So were his skills diminished? I don't think so. McEnroe comes out immediately and makes a statement with an impressive win over Agassi. Jim Gray's with both of them courtside.
John looked like he had you at 20-all. Certainly he had made up the deficit of the handicap.
Well, I still had a few serves, you know, and the serves an edge on this surface. I got the 5 points, so it's a bit of a cheating routine, but, you know, the old guy needs the breaks.
Well, the old guy got the breaks at 20-all. You thought you had the advantage there. We talked about it. You hate to lose, even though it's a handicap deal in an exhibition, right?
Well, you don't like it. No, it pisses me off, to be quite honest. But at 20-all, he took some time, got his breath back. He knew that if he just served well, it'd be tough. I mean, he got the first 2 points, and that's big in that situation.
When we come back, Jim Courier and Pete Sampras disguised as New York sports stars right after this. Back at Madison Square Garden, we'll have more tennis in just a moment, but now a chance to reflect on the real cause of this night, the Tim and Tom Gullickson Foundation. Here's Bud Collins.
Tim Gullickson, a small-town guy who did big-time things every once in a while. 1979 at Wimbledon, 4th round. He knocks off the favorite for the title, John McEnroe, stalling Mac for a couple of years. Tim Gullickson leaped a lot of obstacles. Didn't become a pro until his mid-20s, and then an outstanding coach, finding this man, Pete Sampras, a solid block of gold, and Tim sculpted a champion.
To lose him this year was something that was very tough to get through. But You know, it's been a while now, and I think each day gets a little bit easier. It'll never be the same. But, you know, the foundation is something I'm going to try to help with my own charity and my Aces for Charity. And so it's something that I hope will be successful this year, and hopefully we can do it every year and raise a lot of money and help out the foundation. And I still, to this day, can't believe that he's gone. You know, I have a very, very good relationship with his brother, Tom, and whenever I speak to Tom, I think of Tim, and it makes me feel like that Tim's still here, you know, and, you know, when it's just nice to kind of have him around and talk to him. You know, it's hard, but, you know, we just have to get through.
The identical twins are separated after 44 years. Separated too is Pete Sampras and his wife, Rosemary Gullickson.
Tim was a very special, he was my friend, he was my husband, he was, you know, a great father, besides all the other things that the public know him as, and I'll miss growing old with him.
To send a donation or to learn more about the Tim and Tom Gullickson Foundation, there is the address, or you can call 312-876-7565. Now let's get back to the tennis action. Pete Sampras and Jim Courier in the second match of the competition. They came out in the local colors, but when it got down to business, a rematch of sorts from the '93 Wimbledon final won by Sampras. Courier hanging tough early. But then came the big barrage of Sampras serves.
Bing, bang, boom, boom, ace after ace after ace. Courier may wish that he's on the same side of the net. They've been pals for a long time since winning the Italian Open doubles together as teenagers. Get ready, here comes one to you, Parker.
Courier rallying late, picking up the pace as the clock runs down, and ends up winning the final point and ends up salvaging a 25-25 tie for the #1 player in the world. Next up, it was Pete Sampras and John McEnroe, and out came the blast from the past, the wooden rackets, Bud.
This is wonderful to see. This, of course, is where tennis administrators made a mistake by letting the manufacturers foist off other than wood to the top male pros. Now, for you and me, hackers like us, Dan, the high-tech rackets are wonderful, but they've taken a little something out of the men's game.
Back to the future for the second half. The graphite's back in hand, and they used a little modern technology as well to determine that that was lawn.
Oh, the peeping Tom cam.
But the McEnroe touch would return. And for the second straight match, McEnroe prevails, this time a 6-point win over Sampras. Later, Jim Courier and André Agassi in a slugfest. The only two active players to have reached the finals of every Grand Slam.
Oh!
Courier with a questionable call. And what makes this format so special is that Agassi has a chance to prove him wrong again with the instant replay.
André thinks Jim was hooking him. He was trying.
So look who has the last laugh. Later, the point of the day. Agassi at the net. Flailing backhand off the scoreboard by Courier, and it still goes on and on.
Oh. So you can paste this one in your memory book.
Agassi looking like Jimmy Connors at past U.S. Opens.
It should be over right here. No, says Courier. All right, how about here? Yeah.
Agassi with an impressive 7-point win, 31-24, much to the delight of the crowd. Courier stayed out to face McEnroe in the 5th match of the event, and this McEnroe's 3rd and final match, and he has the 10-point lead with a minute and a half left. He's been impressive.
He came in here as a 19-year-old. in 1978 and won the Masters, saving a match point to beat Arthur Ashe. He won it again in 1983 and 84. But could John McEnroe have imagined that he could reach back to the past? Thomas Wolfe said you can't go home again, but McEnroe has done it. Bringing back all the lovely touch, the fiery disposition, and just everything, at least for an evening, Dan.
He continues to pound Courier. We mentioned the off year by Agassi. It's been another off year by Courier, finishing number 26 in the world. That's his lowest year-end ranking since '88.
It is. Now, he and André Agassi will be playing for Tom Gullickson, the U.S. Davis Cup team, in Brazil in February, the singles. And they'll both have to play very well. It's a tough place to play, hostile crowds.
Look at McEnroe get around the court.
1978 legs.
Feeding off the frenzy here at the Garden.
Well, this little point is called Run, Jimmy, Run. And run some more, because the other guy's going to outrun you.
Those are 37-year-old legs.
Gee. It's either 37-year-old or 1978-year-old.
And Courier just a little incredulous by the whole scene. McEnroe with a 13-point lead now, and
taking advantage of the rules, serves another ace.
I guess this is his hurry-up offense now, but he's really feeling it. Look at him prance around the court.
Playing with the clock.
And as time runs out, Courier sends one to the rafters.
Mac had 8 aces.
All right.
And who needs that 5-love advantage? An easy win, 35-20 over Courier. And a look at the current standings, McEnroe amassed 86 total points in his 3 matches, 17 better than Courier. So the only 2 that can catch Mac now are Agassi and Sampras.
Leader in the clubhouse in tennis.
Jim Graves were the only 2 that can catch him.
All right, thank you very much, Dan. Well, Andre, you need 36 points to surpass McEnroe, but you got to do it against your old nemesis. Can you get that many points here?
It's going to be tough. I mean, when you don't win quick points against Pete, so it's going to be to win 35 is 36 points is going to be tough. But if he does something stupid like pull out that wood racket, you never know what's going to happen.
You're going to bring out that wooden racket? You're just going to play the spoiler role here?
There's no chance I'm bringing out the wood racket against this guy. Maybe John, you know, the fact that he's 35 and not playing, but, you know, I'll be using the graphite here, hopefully hit a lot of aces, and we'll see.
We come back. Sampras takes on Agassi to decide the champion of the Nike Cup. Well, we mentioned the lackluster 96 by André Agassi, who failed to reach a Grand Slam final, but he did strike gold at the Atlanta Olympics, beating Spain's Sergi Bruguera in the finals, which earned a gold medal hug from his girlfriend, Brooke Shields. And Sampras, who puts a premium on Grand Slam titles, salvaged his year, so to speak, with a win at the U.S. Open on what would have been Tim Gullickson's 45th birthday. So another Grand Slam title for Sampras. Agassi and Sampras have met in 3 Grand Slam finals previously, but twice here in New York at the U.S. Open. Sampras winning in 90 and 95. Agassi beat Sampras in the Australian final in 95.
It's run and gun time now. Pile up the points. Pete needs 41 to win. Andre needs 36. Just score him as quick as you can.
Serious demeanor to Agassi. He came into this event with his game face on.
Exhibition or not, Agassi'd like to prove something here. It was supposed to be the year of the Sampras-Agassi rivalry. Didn't happen. Pete beat him when they played only twice. And Agassi wasn't in either match.
One flies long by Agassi. 3-2 now in favor of André.
Well, that's like a service break. You win 3 points out of the other guy's 5 serves, and then you try to win 4 or 5 on your own. Well, that looked long, and André calls it long.
Ace for Agassi.
That's 5.
He'll use a second serve. Remember, 2 in each set of 5. Pete looks a little out of sorts.
6-2 for André.
Really has Sampras out of his rhythm as Agassi is forcing the pace of play as well on this set of serves.
And he's ahead of winning pace at this point.
Another ace for Agassi. Says, take that, Pete. Pete's dished it out so many years with that big booming serve.
André now needing 28 points to beat McEnroe.
As they change serves, Pete's turn. And he needs some big boomers to make up the deficit. Second serve, though, here.
No.
And called out by Agassi. Wide. Pete says, okay, André, let's check it.
It missed, Pete. That was good.
And here it is.
Watch it. Oh, wide!
Wide of the center line.
That's the best.
So despite the appeal to videotape, the call stands wide as Agassi had determined it.
So was what?
2-9.
That one wide as well. Sampras in a big hole here as Agassi moves closer to try and catch McEnroe.
Nope.
3-9.
Don't miss his second serve.
Good advice to himself. Do not miss the second serve. Very well put, André. Now Pete's getting into it.
Pulls within 4, but remember he needed 41. Agassi
Yeah.
just 36. So Agassi at this point has the more realistic chance of catching McEnroe, and again he wants to hurry the pace of play because he needs a lot of points, and it is a timed match.
Let's see who gets to the net, okay?
And you can be sure at this point that McEnroe's cheering on Pete Sampras to try to hold off André Agassi. We're back for the conclusion in a moment.
You play. Yeah, right. Just throw some big bombs.
André Agassi, the only man who can catch it.
Sampras getting some coaching help from McEnroe.
I don't know. How many points does he need? Just stall, will you?
Obviously wants him to stall so Agassi doesn't pile up points.
That's it? What the hell is that happening?
17, right?
I'm winning every match.
McEnroe seems a little bit surprised that Agassi only needs 17 points to catch him.
They get 17, they tie.
But that's the situation as they play the second half of this match. And Sampras begins it with a big one.
It was right on the line.
15, 16.
He'll get no challenge from Agassi. I think the stall tactics have begun here a little bit, Bud.
Well, Pete better pay
How
attention
did I miss that?
because Andre's going to serve. The burden is on the server. When he's ready, they play. 16 he needs. And Sampras is pretty much out of it. His role is as a spoiler.
Playing as if he has conceded And this leaves no doubt as to who Pete Sampras would like to win the Nike Cup, and that would be John McEnroe, not his rival Agassi.
Well, it's greed time for André. Grab anything. Grab him quick.
Agassi,
14
points. Pete checking the scoreboard.
Five in a row, baby. 5 in a row.
He needs a dozen.
Come on, Pete. Beat him.
Coach McEnroe adding his cheers.
The boy coach.
Remember, it's a battle not only for points for Agassi, but against the clock. He's won 6 in a row.
$17.25. André needs 11.
That's it, baby.
The McEnroe family is for Sampras.
God, he's playing too fast. Slow it down.
Slow it down.
Slow it down.
Come on, you bum. Stop stalling.
Agassi doesn't like the prevent defense being put on here by Sampras at all.
I never knew you could sit on the ball in tennis, but you can.
What is this, the four corners offense being implemented by Pete? This is better than Dean Smith ever dreamed of.
The freeze is on.
And I think it's irritating Agassi a little bit. Not only does he wait, and then the bullet comes.
Hey, Pete. Hey, Pete.
Now he's signing autographs.
But he has to play within 25 seconds or he loses a point. So it's stall, then steam. Stall, then steam.
Did the beep go off? Did the Cyclops?
Well, now a controversy on this call.
The Cyclops did go off?
If it's that
The
close.
Cyclops go off? The Cyclops go off? Okay, I'll challenge him.
This Cyclops is broken on this side, though. I'm telling you, he hasn't made a call all night.
Can I challenge him? Challenge him.
Well, the challenge has been
I
made.
can be able to see it.
Let's
you're
check
not
the
gonna be
tape.
able to see it, so-
Well,
As you can't
the
tell.
peeping Tom camera, what does it tell us?
Other angle. That's a bad angle for that serve.
Now he wants another ankle.
Meanwhile, Sampras creeps up, and André needs a dozen because he lost one there in challenging, losing the challenge. His total went from 25 to 24. By far the most exciting Nike Cup match ever.
In the history of this long, illustrious event, but
It'll be a classic next year.
Agassi is going to take a furious.
Now he's scoring
finish.
again. Needs 10.
He won't wait long before he fires another one. In.
Uh-oh.
Throw the ball.
Agassi's all out of whack now. A victim of the stalling tactics.
Needs 9.
Agassi picks up another point, but will he have enough time to catch McEnroe? The old man, 37-year-old John McEnroe, hoping for a gift-wrapped Nike Cup. There are the standings. Agassi just 7 points behind, but it has been Pete Sampras who has been implementing his stall tactics, much to the dismay of Agassi.
The beneficiary of Pete's pesky pauses is Mac.
Hey, BJ.
This is like holding it.
No, we don't want it yet. We don't want it yet.
Brad Gilbert, Agassi's coach. When should they take a timeout and stop the clock?
Who's running the team there, coach or player?
You know it's always André.
And now Pete trying to pump up the crowd at the Garden. Team McEnroe likes that as well. That's all right, missing the first serve. That continues to burn more time off the clock.
And a service winner.
(28-24), but that score meaningless. Agassi's chase on McEnroe is what we're keeping track of. Too strong a forehand from Sampras. Into the net it goes from Agassi.
Tick-tock tennis.
Ace for Sampras.
Well, Pistol Pete, as Tim Gullickson called him, didn't fire a blank there.
He does look a little frustrated now. Knows it's slipping away, but still with a chance. Just under 2 minutes left. He needs some points in a hurry.
Points, 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 André. Get grabby.
Well, apparently there, Sampras has broken a string on his racket.
But Dan, he's got to call timeout if he wants to stop André serving while he gets another racket. And André realizes that. Here it goes. Now that's a fault, but Pete doesn't call it. And it's his responsibility. So André keeps playing. Pete is lost.
He figures
another point.
He figures the point is his, no matter if it's in or out.
Pete, you better look at this one. You've just lost 2 quickies.
What's the score?
31 for Agassi, 5 points away from McEnroe. And we're at the minute mark.
Here.
4 points away.
4 points. Keep pumping. Oh, Pete.
3 points.
Now the stall is not doing any good for Pete.
So now a crucial time here. Sampras has not only regained control of the balls, he's regained control of the clock. And Agassi at that point now calls a timeout with 45 seconds to go.
That's disrespectful. Doesn't even give me a shot at it.
His coach, Brad Gilbert, clearly amused at the whole thing.
Agassi not amused.
Come on,
no.
man.
The total scoreboard.
Sour grapes isn't
2
cool.
points, and
Don't give me sour
Agassi can
grapes
tie it
stuff,
in the
man.
next 45 seconds. 3
He was
points,
ready.
he wins.
28-27.
Now, I would have a hard time listening to McEnroe talk about sour grapes.
Yeah, and stalling and anything else.
But he is cheering on Sampras. Agassi 3 points away as Sampras has regained control of the serves with 45 seconds left.
André's got to hit winners if he has a chance.
The clock starts with the first serve.
Ooh.
Clutch shot by Pete. Agassi still needs 3, and now he's running out of time.
28-33.
Oh!
And right when Agassi needed Sampras to fold, Sampras comes on strong. And a second serve will eat up more time, so Agassi will run out of time. And the Madison Square Garden crowd will count down the final seconds. Sampras holds off Agassi for the point total he needed to get to McEnroe, so it's 37-year-old John McEnroe who wins the Nike Cup.
Well, Pete had the strategy. When he wasn't stalling, he was stoning the ball.
The Cup has been won by New York's own John McEnroe.
And McEnroe anointed the King of New York once again. He's won 4 U.S. Open titles in New York. And he's won the first Nike Cup. The final point totals 86-85. The 1-point win over Agassi. Sampras finishes 3rd, and Courier finishes 4th. Let's go down to Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Dan. Well, the old guy still has it. Somehow you figured out a way to win this thing.
Well, it was getting ugly there at the end, that last match, but fortunately Pete had a little sympathy for me.
How about this controversy here? Andre's not too happy, is he?
Well, Pete got back to 28-27, and then suddenly Andre hit about 3 serves where he broke his string. I mean, there's got to be, we forgot that rule. In case someone broke the string, you can't just keep serving. You got to switch rackets, so it got a little out of hand there.
Now, how did you con these organizers into that handicap? Because clearly you were equal to these guys this evening.
Well, you know, it turns out it would have been fairly close either way, but I figured that it would just get these guys a little bit more pumped up and, you know, make them work a little harder, and I think it worked.
Haven't had a trophy in a while. Not a bad one to add, huh?
Yeah, you don't. I mean, I haven't been played here since '89. It's always been one of my favorite places to play. Came here since I've been 8 years old.
Congratulations, John.
Thanks a lot, Jim.
All right, let's go back to Dan and Bud.
Okay, thank you, Jim. So the local kid rekindles his old familiar tennis fire and holds off the game's present-day greats. In the end, Agassi came up just short, while Courier provided another one of his gamely efforts. And the world's #1 player, Pete Sampras, played his own sweet music in the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. In the end, $250,000 was generated for the Tim and Tom Gullickson Foundation, and Nike's Phil Knight personally matched that total, bringing total benefits to better than $500,000. Ulster Sports also kicked in brand new BMW motorcycles for the players for their efforts. So John McEnroe, the winner of the 1996 Nike Cup. For Bud Collins and Jim Gray, I'm Dan Hicks saying so long from the Garden. Happy holidays, everybody.